Good evening, everyone. It is 6 p.m. on Tuesday, October the 14th, and this is the October Council meeting, and I'd ask that all rise for the playing of the national anthem. Councillor Lackey has sent his regrets this evening. He's unable to attend. We will begin with our land acknowledgement. With gratitude, the Township of Leeds and the Thousand Islands acknowledges these lands and waters are the traditional territory of the Algonquin, Mississaugas, Mohawk, and Huron-Wendat. To recognize the role of the township must play in truth and reconciliation, we also acknowledge the displacement of these peoples. Additionally, the township would like to respectfully acknowledge the First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people who also call this place home. We make this land acknowledgement to honor the Indigenous ancestors who have stewarded these lands and waters since time immemorial. So we will move forward with number 4 on the agenda, which is motion to adopt. Motion comes forward by Councillor Antoine Hartley, seconded by Councillor Maybe, that the agenda be adopted as amended. Discussion on the agenda. I have no hands up, so I'll call the question. All those in favor? All those opposed? And it is carried. Declaration of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof. Does anybody have an interest to declare? Go ahead, Councillor Kelman.
Thank you, Worship. And through you, I need to declare a conflict for 12.2, or perhaps just all of the staff reports as they're all, I'll just for item 12, due to a familial relationship.
Fair enough. Thank you. Any other interests to declare? I have no other hands up. So we'll move forward in the agenda. There is no closed session, so no reporting out. There is no public meeting and there are no briefings. So we'll move forward to number 10, the consent agenda. Moved by Councillor Antoine Hartley, seconded by Deputy Mayor Fody, that the June 24th, July 29th, and August 26th, 2025 Committee of Adjustment meeting minutes be received and filed. Is that correct, Madam Clerk? Right, just for the public's sake, the other minutes for some reason didn't populate into the agenda when published. So we'll have to bring those back for approval at a future meeting. So with that, I will call the question, or before I do that, any errors or omissions that anybody can see? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? All those opposed? And it is carried. Thank you. Number 12, staff reports. So I'll ask Councillor Kelman. We still have quorum, Madam Clerk. We're good? So motion comes forward from Deputy Mayor Fody, seconded by Councillor Maybe, that the council approve the following agenda items as recommended at the October 6th, 2025 Committee of the Whole meeting, 12.1, 12.2, and 12.3. The motion is on the floor. Just going to give you an extra minute to check your notes, Councillor Maybe. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor, Madam Mayor, and through you, excuse me. For 12.3, my question is the piping and station in lagoons, the wastewater environmental, the amount that was there, again, we did talk about this last week also, that it is, there was 150,000, I believe, budgeted and 95,000 and something. And that is, again, for anybody who's sitting in the audience, how that money is being brought back to us.
Thank you, through your worship. Any additional funds required for this? The additional funds required for this will be budgeted in the 2026 capital budget to move forward.
Yep, thank you. That was my question, just to make sure.
Okay. Are there any other items you had questions on?
No, I'm good.
Okay, any other questions? Seeing none, I will call the question. All those in favor? All those opposed? And it is carried. Councillor Kelman, you can come back in. Okay. So number 13. Oh, sorry, 12.4. I knew this. My apologies. So this is the amendment in the agenda. So moved by Councillor Antoine Hartley, seconded by Deputy Mayor Fody. Whereas the applicant has requested that this application be referred back to Committee of the Whole to allow their agent time to prepare a presentation to Committee of the Whole to respond to questions and concerns raised at the October 6th Committee of the Whole meeting. The council refers the application back to Committee of the Whole for further consideration, and that council directs staff to request the applicant and/or their agent to be present as a briefing to provide further information regarding this project. So if folks recall, this is in regards to 439 Thousand Islands Parkway. This was the request for change in zoning. My apologies. And so the agent was on the line and did answer some questions, but they're requesting an opportunity to brief council at a future Committee of the Whole. Go ahead, Deputy Mayor Fody.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you. I don't have a problem with this request, other than the fact we unanimously voted against that last week. Had it been a split vote, I'd be more inclined to do this, but my inclination right now is to deny it. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments in regards to this? Go ahead, Councillor Maybe.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and through you, I have to agree with fellow Councillor Fody that I also agree that we all unanimously did not approve this. So I'm not really sure whether we're going to change that mindset unless there's some new information that's going to come our way that's going to persuade us. So I'm, again, if there's anything else that might help us out here at this point.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Through you. So following the meeting last week, staff had a meeting with the applicant for the property or for the zoning amendment and went over some of the questions. Their planning consultant was not on the line last week. It was the builder that was on the line. There were some questions that there was some additional clarification provided on as related to the nature of the construction and what was proposed. I would note that should council deny the application, the next venue for a hearing would be the Ontario Land Tribunal. And in terms of looking at the process, the only delay in this point in terms of deferring it back is for the applicant. The optics of not allowing the applicant the opportunity to speak to the application at their request. may not be well received going into a hearing scenario. So it would be my recommendation to proceed with allowing them the opportunity. If the additional information doesn't change your mind, it's still within the purview of council to make whatever decision they deem appropriate with respect to the application.
Follow up, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you. Further to the new information our acting CIO and Director of Planning has provided, I'll withdraw the statement I made earlier that I would deny this. I'll support it coming back.
Any further comments or question? Okay, I will call the question. All those in favor? All those opposed? And it is carried. Okay, next item is 13.1, Councillor Vacancy Ward 3, Declaration and Filling Vacancy Recommendations. So moved by Deputy Mayor Fody, seconded by Councillor Antoine Hartley. The council declares the office of Councillor Ward 3 held by Brock Gorell vacant, and that council directs staff to move forward with option blank as described in Staff Report Administration 2025-025 to fill the vacancy of the office of Councillor Ward 3. Motions on the floor up for discussion. Go ahead, Councillor Kelman, and then Deputy Mayor Fody.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you. Given that it is the option that we chose for the last two, to fill the last two seats, including my own, would being option 2, that would be my choice. Again, also, I think given the timeline that we have until the next full election, I think the sooner that we can have someone in place for that ward, the better.
Deputy Mayor, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship, through you. I agree with my colleague. A year is too long to have that seat vacant. There's too many important things. A budget, to name one, coming up here very shortly. I do support option 2. We saw it work out in 2 occasions here. It's not the cheapest option, but I like the transparency. I'm fully in favor of option 2. Can I make an aside?
Sure.
I would like to, personally thank Brock Gorell for sitting here for almost 7 years at this council table. He brought an astute way of looking at things, especially when it came to finance. He dove deep into the deep end of financial applications, budgets, what have you. And we'll miss that. And I just want to put it on the record that, I want to thank him for the nearly 7 years he did put forward to our township residents, and I wish him well in the future.
Any, Councillor Maybe, and then Councillor Antoine Hartley, I'd like to hear from you as well. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and through you. Again, very similar to what has happened in the past is certainly option 2, I believe it is. And as everybody knows, I was appointed with option 3. And again, I'm not quite sure who was the option, if 3 was chosen in Ward 3 at this moment. But if, that information could be passed on, it would be helpful also. I think I know, but I want to have the clarity of it. That's all. But certainly option 2, I feel, is one that gives us better optics, as well as the option of maybe somebody who's out in the community who hadn't put their hand up before. But if we could get that option
So, Madam Clerk.
3.
Certainly. So on our elections page, it tells you all of the information for nominations. Councillor of Ward 3, there were 2 candidates that filed. Brock Gorell was one and Jason Page was the other. So Brock would have been the successful candidate and Jason the unsuccessful candidate.
Oh, thank you for that clarity. I appreciate it. Thank you.
And then Ms. Antoine Hartley.
Thank you. Through your chair, I agree with Councillor Kelman, Councillor Maybe, about having some consistency. We've done it this way this term. I think the application process that it was put in place is an excellent way to wrap your head around what it is you're actually applying for. I know it was beneficial to me, and I think it's a good way for residents to get to know who's applying, if we're not going to have a by-election. It's a wonderful way to get to know what those people are all about. And it's also a good way for council to see, you know, what everybody stands for. So I would go with the option 2.
Okay.
As well.
So based on council's recommendation, I will fill in here option 2. Just not to repeat myself from last week's meeting, but I had described Brock and his time that he served here, and just to say thank you again. And I know that we were fortunate to have him and his expertise and the way that he dove into some issues very passionately, and we will definitely miss that around the table. So thank you again, Councillor Garreau. So with that, I'm going to read the motion again, moved by Deputy Mayor Fody, seconded by Councillor Antoine Hartley. The council declares the office of Ward 3 held by Brock Garreau vacant, and that council directs staff to move forward with option 2 as described in staff report administration-2025-025 to fill the vacancy of the office of Councillor Ward 3. All those in favor? All those opposed? And it is carried. Moving on to 13.2, moved by Councillor Maybe, seconded by Councillor Antoine Hartley, that council supports Mr. Steve Allen serving as our area representative on the Cataraqui Source Protection Committee for another 3-year term. Any discussion on this motion? Go ahead, Councillor Maybe.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And through you, Stephen Allen, has he been at a council meeting that we've met him?
I don't believe so.
No, through you. Mr. Allen is, I believe, the stormwater engineer for the city of Brockville and previously served a 3-year term and has indicated that he would be happy to sit on the committee as the representative for another 3-year term. So given the qualifications, the expertise and the background, we thought it made sense to put forward his name again as he's volunteering for the position.
Okay, thank you.
Having said that, it's a good question, Councillor. Maybe perhaps sometime we could have him come and provide a delegation as to what the committee does and how it represents us in the area, just so that people see the source water protection signage when you go into the respective areas. But it might be good for us and the public to just delve a little bit deeper. This is different than Cataraqui CRCA board, which I currently sit on as the representative. So it would be, I think, beneficial if we could put that request in. So the motion still stands. So I'll call the question. All those in favor? All those opposed? And it's carried. Next item is 13.4, 2025 community grants fall intake. I got ahead of myself. Thank you, Madam Clerk. 13.3, 2025 council member conference attendance. So moved by Councillor Antoine Hartley, seconded by Councillor Maybe. That council authorizes the following members of council to attend the following conferences as listed: Rural Ontario Municipal Association Conference, ROMA. So there'd be 2 councillors for that. Ontario Good Roads Association Conference, 2 councillors for that, and Association of Municipalities of Ontario, AMO, and that is 2 councillors as well. So the way that we have done this in the past is anybody who shows interest, who hasn't been, who would like to be. I think we're all pretty good adults at this, so we can sort this out. I just for the public's knowledge, I represent the municipality through the county at AMO and at Roma, but have gone to Good Roads representing the township and only the township. So so I am not obviously going to take either one of the positions for AMO or Roma, and I'm willing to step aside for Good Roads if somebody really wants to go, but if anybody doesn't want to or whatever. So who wants to go to Roma? Go ahead, Councillor.
Thank you, Your Worship. I was going to ask a question.
Sure.
we have a vacancy that we just spoke of here that's soon going to be filled another month or so from now. I would like to know what my colleagues think about sending that individual to Good Roads. Good Roads is the least of the in-depth of these three, if you will, but there's a learning to be had up there for new members of council. We were all attended that. Well, most of us have, I think. I think it would be a good step forward for whoever fills that seat from Rockerell to send them to Good Roads. I think the other two they'd find a little deep initially.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask you to park that thought because
All right.
question for the clerk as well. Go ahead, you can make your statement and then I have a question.
So I don't want to throw that at a new counselor, being that they will be quite new. Good Roads doesn't have to be applied for until I believe the beginning of the year. Roma and AMO are the two definitely important ones. So if we want to choose somebody and say that the new counselor could be in there and then you, like another council member, be an alternate, that would probably be preferred. Then we don't have to bring it back. We can put that out to the new counselor. And then if they say no, the other council member that we choose could be the one that goes. But Roma and AMO, I need names. I mean, that wasn't on your list, but I do need names sooner rather than later because registration is open quite soon.
Go ahead. Deputy Mayor.
Follow up, if I may. Thank you, Your Worship. That was the reason I suggested, partly in part, I should say, is Good Roads, because it's not held for a few months. And if this vacancy is filled sometime in November, there's likely a 3 to 4 month window that person would be on council. And by the time they chose to go, they're not being forced to, as you indicated. So I would propose we nominate that said to be person yet to be chosen in that position for the Good Roads. And if we need to change it, we can. If you're looking for a volunteer in the other two, I would gladly step forward, and I don't care which one.
Okay, I'm just making notes here. So Terry is good to go to either or Roma or AMO. And my question to the clerk was, when is Good Roads? Because they've changed that, because it used to be in April. That's why I'm just double checking.
They moved it up.
So March. Maple
Maybe we
trees.
move it to your
Got it.
sugar house.
Okay. So, Ms. Antoine Hartley, since you're newest to the table, do you have a preference?
Through you, Chair, I went to AMO this year and found it very beneficial. Learned a lot, felt overwhelmed a lot.
I think the words are drinking from a fire hose.
Yeah, exactly. I would be interested in going to Roma if at all possible, but it's okay because I can sit out for a year or two. Doesn't matter.
Okay. So, and you've already been to AMO. Okay. So, Ms. Kelman.
I would always like to go to AMO if possible and Roma, but I can only go to either Roma or Good Roads. And I have never been to Good Roads. So if we have two other people that would like to go to Roma this year, I would be happy to go to Good Roads. And then AMO if there's a spot, but if not, that's fine.
Okay.
Because I have gone to AMO twice now.
Got it. Mr. Maybe.
Well, Good Roads fit for me, so I would, I've been to Roma, I haven't been to AMO, so AMO would be the one I would prefer.
Okay. So AMO. Just checking my notes here. So, I've got 2 Romas.
I asked.
And you said you would, no physical violence. We're not following anybody's footsteps here. So, go ahead.
That was my point. We're missing a council member. Is this something we could ask after and still be legal?
So the challenge is, I guess what we could do is we could break down this motion and only do Roma, because the issue is Roma comes out. We need to book the hotel rooms and the travel arrangements and the booking into the conference because there's limited seating, so to speak.
And Amos's in August.
Yeah, Amos and Good Roads are fine. We don't, it's just, I think for clerical purposes, the clerk likes to be prepared and
Right.
well in advance. So maybe I would entertain an amendment to remove Good Roads and AMO from the decision-making this evening. And we can put that aside for later, but also maybe till the new person is, because
Yeah, let me. Through your worship, let me check when AMO comes out.
shouldn't be that early.
I'll check.
Okay.
And then bring it back whenever.
Whenever it's appropriate to make sure.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. And as a point, Jeff probably couldn't go in August.
If he's still working at what he's working at now.
Yeah.
But we won't determine his destiny at this point. We'll let him speak for himself.
Yeah.
So Roma needs to be decided. So I will entertain an amendment to remove Good Roads and AMO until a future committee or council date.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So we'll bring back Good Roads and AMO to the December committee of the whole meeting or council. Okay. So who would like to move that amendment? Councillor Maybe, and then Councillor Kelman. Discussion on the amendment. Call that question. All those in favor? All those opposed, and it is carried. Okay. So the amended motion is that council authorizes the following members of council to attend the following conference as listed: Rural Ontario Municipal Association, Roma, Councillor Blank and Councillor Blank. So as of right now, we got Terry and Monique who are asking about Roma, and Kelman, you said that you'll do Good Roads instead. Okay. So no arm wrestling required. Terry Fody and Monique Antoine Hartley. Okay. So all in favor of the two representatives as indicated? Call the question. All opposed, and it's carried. Okay. Next, now I'm at 13.4. Moved by Deputy Mayor Fody, seconded by Councillor Maybe, that council approve the 2025 community grants fall intake distribution in the amount of $17,600 as attached to Corporate Services Report 2025-025. Didn't I just say that? There was another. Oh, that's staff report administration. Sorry, I just wanted to make sure it wasn't a duplicate number. Thank you. Okay. So discussion on the fall intake and the recipients. Go ahead, Councillor Kelman.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you. I just wanted to clarify one thing and ask a question about one thing. The application from the Lyndhurst Business Community Group for the temporary toilet in Lyndhurst, which the the grant awards committee that makes the decisions are saying it is going to be denied because it's outside the scope. I just wanted to note that when there are events in Lyndhurst already scheduled, like the Shop and Hop and the Santa Claus Parade, that the township, as far as I know, does provide porta potties for those events. So when there is an event, there will be a porta potty present. And also I had a question about the R&J youth services, perhaps to the Director of Corporate Services. I just wondered where the program being suggested is going to be delivered, if you know.
Through you, Mayor, known off the top of my head, but I can get that answer for you. My expectation, somewhere in the township was what I thought, but I'd have to confirm that.
Go ahead. Deputy Mayor Fody, did you have your hand up on this one?
Thank you, Your Worship, but through you, I just wanted to comment that our community groups really financially benefited this year because of our spring intake. We opted to move money that wasn't spent from 2024 and spend it this past spring. So we distributed what, in my math, 112,000 plus. So that's great. I mean, these community groups of all sorts, like we see here on this presentation that received, they're the ones that are the heart and soul of what keeps us moving forward in the township.
And just as another aside, we recognized these community groups in September at the OLG event. So we always make a point of thanking OLG because the money doesn't come from the tax base, it comes from the OLG funds that we receive. And that is one of the things that we always get complimented on by OLG, is that we're one of the few communities that actually put those monies back into community stuff. Like, it's not just roads, bridges, water mains, sorry to insult you, Director Holiday, but the unfun stuff. So they always really enjoy coming to the event, to celebrate what good work gets done here, but they get to meet all the community groups and those volunteers who run those things for the respective communities, and to see how both Town of Gananoque and our municipality support those community groups, and how many people are actually touched by that money. So it is definitely a good news story. So any other comments in regards to the fall intake? Seeing none, I'll call a question. All those in favor? All those opposed? And it's carried. 13.5 Municipal Ice Storm Assistance Program, moved by Councillor Maybe, seconded by Deputy Mayor Fody. Whereas the Township of Leeds and the Thousand Islands has eligible costs directly linked to the March 2025 ice storm, the Council of the Township of Leeds and the Thousand Islands hereby requests assistance under the Municipal Ice Storm Assistance Program. And further, that Philip Reniers, Director of Corporate Services and Treasurer, is given delegated authority to verify and attest to the accuracy of the application package. Philip, would you like to speak to this? Okay.
Thank you. Through you, this is a grant that is due at the end of the month. It came out, I believe, in July, notifying municipalities that were hit by the ice storm in March of this year that there was a grant available. So we are still compiling costs and looking at what goes along with it. It's, I believe, as noted in the report, we're looking possibly at submitting for around $75,000. But again, we're still verifying. So the second part of the motion is to allow Phil, as the Treasurer and Director of Corporate Services, to attest to the accuracy of the submission. So this resolution is required as part of the grant submission package.
And just to note that this township, comparative to many townships around us, we got off easy comparatively in March. And there was lots of municipalities north of here that had significant damage, and many weeks without hydro, and folks that were, in precarious situations. So Councillor Maybe, then Deputy Mayor Fody, then Councillor Antoine Hartley. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So the 75,000 is kind of like the benchmark that you put on this particular grant at this moment, or is there a max min type thing? And do you expect to be well over that 75,000, or are we pretty well within that budget?
The 75 is just where our tally sat based on the time of the writing of the staff report. I'm not sure what the actual numbers are at this point, because fire and operations were still compiling, and we have to review all of the costs in light of what's eligible under the grant. So that was just a rough estimate for council's information. The actual award is based on how much the ask ends up coming in at, and a certain percentage of the tax base. So there's a percentage calculation that the province will do in reviewing the application.
My guess is they have a formula. It's kind of like our other monies that we get from the province, OSIF and.
Through Mayor, it's based on a percentage of basically your own tax revenue from the last FIR, which will be 24. So I think when I did the number, I was just looking for it. I can't find it, but I think our max would be in the mid 300,000s. And we're
So
not,
we're
we're
not-
not expecting to be anywhere near that level
Yeah.
as a max.
So, okay. Deputy Mayor Fode, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you. It would be foolhardy of us not to apply for this. We've already incurred the expense. The fire department put in, I wouldn't know, chief would know, how many hours. Our works department, they were working seriously long hours with little sleep, not proper food, but still fed. The ones we won't get to subsidize are the residents of the township who did a lot of work themselves. But this is money that we should retrieve to offset the costs we've already incurred. Thank you.
Go ahead, Councillor Antoine Hartley.
I would agree with Councillor Fode in that we certainly, it's a good idea to recoup that money as much as possible. This is a provincial grant, one-time support. So if we get hit by the end of the year with another ice storm, which is quite likely, we wouldn't be eligible to apply.
We don't need to put bad vibes out there.
We would have to open another round of funding and grant applications up. So this grant is only targeted to the specific area that was hit in March. So if there was another significant weather event, that it would be up to the province to decide to open another round of funding.
They often come out with these tranches of
Okay.
money and we just have to be on top of things. So I appreciate the fact that the staff recognized that we could potentially recoup some of the funds that were spent for that one-time event.
Great, thank you.
Okay. Any further comments or questions? See, okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through, just as an aside, maybe we should be thankful that it's worded as a storm assistance program and not a disaster relief, as we see so many places around the globe, and in particular North America. And this past year, the weather's changing. There's no doubt about it. We'll just leave it at this and be grateful that this is available to us.
So I will call the question. All those in favor? All those opposed, and it is carried. Just a quick note, the township does have an emergency response group that meets, we train and meet the provincial standards annually. And I know that there's additional training that's being had so that we have fail safes. So if somebody's not here, there's other people trained to do things. And that's one of the things that acting CAO Venditti has been working on, as far as making sure that we have other people that are also trained as backups. So it's really important when you think about a disaster situation that we have everybody working in lockstep. I know that I've been party to a number of mock incidents and how that works, and how I'm involved as representative council. I'm the one, and during COVID, I ended up signing the state of emergency. I think that's the only time that I've done that since I've been elected. And how that rolls out, there is a system. So just for the public's interest, we do take that seriously and make sure that our plans and our response is in place. So next item is 13.6, Operations Department Vehicle Fire Replacement Options. Am I further again? Yeah, I can't. It's all right. I kept my comments till after the motion, that's why. 13.6, moved by Councillor Kelman, seconded by Councillor Maybe. The council directs staff to proceed with option 3, acquisition of a medium duty truck complete with plow equipment as described in report number 2025-049. Discussion on the motion. Go ahead, Councillor Maybe.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. To Director of Operations, is this a new replacement truck a crew cab, or was the last one a crew cab?
Through Your Worship, so the truck that had the fire was a crew cab. This would be a regular cab, one size larger, but with the larger box on the back with a shorter cab.
Okay. And a follow-up question on the costing. The insurance gave us 161, and we're roughly talking about $250,000. So the extra money is coming from where?
As we wouldn't receive this vehicle until the spring, we'd be proposing to include this as part of the 2026 capital budget.
Thank you.
But using the funds that we receive from insurance to offset the cost.
Thank you. Yes. So in addition to the $161,000 that we received from insurance, the difference would be included in the 2026 capital budget.
Right. And I don't have the report in front of me, but that was due to wiring malfunction, was it not? Is that how that truck met its demise?
That is what is believed, is that it was an electrical issue that we had with the truck that caused it to burn. Yeah.
And we thank the passerby who called it in, and we thank the staff employees that moved it out of the garage where it was originally parked. So would have been a lot worse at the time. Any further questions on this? Go ahead, Deputy Mayor Fody.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you to a Director of Operations. This is a single axle truck, I assume?
That is correct. It's larger than what we had at present,
Right.
but not as big as a single axle truck that like our tandem trucks. It's not quite that size. It's the happy medium in between. And this will help serve some of the local dead end roads that we have, as well as some of the village roads, where we've had some challenges being able to, it takes multiple passes currently with what we had. And that will reduce the amount of passes required and also give us additional sand capacity to be able to serve it as well.
Okay. And additionally, I can't envision knowing what a 750 Ford looks like, but I assume it's of enough configuration to handle a wing.
Thank you, Your Worship. And this was one of my concerns that I had with the truck that we had previously. A wing was proposed on that, and I've seen that size of chassis break or crumple up. So I had big concerns with that. The staff were looking for a wing to put on it just for the reasons that we've identified in the report. And we've reviewed the larger size truck. There are municipalities that have purchased this size of vehicle. We have a local contractor here in Lansdowne that has a Ford 750, which is comparable that you can see it. But it certainly has a lot stronger frame that will accommodate a plow and wing of this size.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Cunliffe.
Thank you, Worship, and through you. The only concern I had was the disadvantage of the longer acquisition time, and you say we won't have it till spring. So will that cause a disruption with our plowing, servicing, and sanding this through the winter season this year?
Thank you, through Your Worship. We had two vehicles, similar specs, so we'll be utilizing the second vehicle for this purpose. Now that vehicle typically pulls our sidewalk machine, so we'll have to be thoughtful on how we're transporting that and not being out of compliance with our requirements with our CVOR. It does put us at a bit of a disadvantage when it comes to doing that. So we can't load up and then head out. We have to really think about how we're going to complete that operation. But in terms of plowing the roads, we will be able to provide the same level of service that we have historically. It'll just be the sidewalks we have to be careful with. And then going forward, we'll have that additional capacity that we should be able to provide a better level of service at that point.
Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. We need to keep in mind as well, this being a 2019, depending on what year model is brought to us in this new acquisition, we're going to be jumping up at least 6 years on a model of a truck. So not that I recommend we find this way to trade all our vehicles, but the fact that we're gaining 6 years in a newer truck is something that our asset management plan will appreciate when this truck of 19 doesn't cycle around.
Well, our asset management plan has identified where we had some wiggle room, but the only silver lining of this disastrous event, I say disastrous because it had the potential to be a lot worse than what it was that it gives us the ability to invest in the proper truck to be able to handle. Because one of the things when staff come to us and say, well, this is what we'd like to do, but we can't because we don't have the right equipment, to the point that the director made, if we were to add a wing to it and twist the chassis, then we're in no better position, no further ahead. So this allows us to be better prepared for the future and As long as we can maintain what we have right now with what we have right now, this will set us up for the following season. So, okay, I will call the question. All those in favor? All those opposed? And it is carried. Next item is 13.7, moved by Councillor Kelman, seconded by Councillor Maybe, that council approve the capital budget transfer of $100,000 from the capital infrastructure contingency for the purpose of replacement of the Kidd Road and Fairfax Road culverts, and that council approve the capital budget transfer of $25,000 from the capital infrastructure contingency for the purpose of engineering design and approvals of the Ivy Lee Road culvert, and that the required budget for the replacement of the Ivy Lee Road culvert be included in the 2026 capital budget. Clear as mud. Go ahead. Go ahead, Councillor Maybe.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So this emergency fund, how are the contingency funds now? And how does that affect our 30-year plan that we have listed in these contingencies and some of this road work?
Thank you, through your worship. Thankfully, every year we include a contingency fund in our capital budget just for this type of purpose, something that pops up. I believe the treasurer sets up a percentage of our overall budget. I'm not sure what that number is, but this year was about $125,000. And as these popped up, we feel that we can complete the work that we need to within that allowable contingency. So that this isn't anything in addition to what was approved for the 2025 capital budget.
But because it's in a reserve, that it is up to council to allocate it upon recommendation by the director. Go ahead.
Thank you, Worship, and through you. I guess the first comment is thankfully this got caught by the people in the know and avoided what could have been a totally different outcome. Some of us are of the vintage that when you go north on County Road 3 and turn on Fairfax Road, that first culvert washed out decades ago, and a local resident went nose first in there with a pickup truck at 1 o'clock in the morning. By the time he realized what he was looking at, he thought it was just...
I found family members just...
No, it was not.
Heard.
But your family members were within sight.
Yeah.
And that was the light he followed to get help. But no, it was water rushing through at a high rate, very high rate, and it washed the material over top of the culvert. And once it got weak enough, the culvert floated and everything was gone. So this could have been a much different scenario. And yeah, it's never planned, but as a director of operations is well aware, these things do happen. I remember we had one happen last year, a very large culvert out at the end of Darriah Road. Luckily, that surfaced before we hard surfaced the road. So some of these things are actually a blessing in disguise. Thank you.
Councillor Antoine Harley.
Through you, Chair. So it says that you don't have to inspect anything over 3 meters every 2 years. But so do we have a program for inspecting that every so many years so that it doesn't
Fall through the...
fall through the cracks? Do we have a plan?
Pardon the pun.
Thank you, through your worship. Currently, we do not, but we are working with the county moving forward that we'll be able to do this in-house ourselves. When I worked for a previous municipality, we had created a simple evaluation, just green, yellow, red. If it was red, that meant it was bad. If it was green, it meant that it was good. So we're looking to implement the same thing here and have it on our GIS database that we can see it on the map and actually plan for these, so that less and less of these will, in theory, pop up as we move forward. So that's something that that our manager of roads and fleet has been discussing with GIS at the county. And we're hoping by 2026, when we have our summer student, that we will be able to start that process and get it online.
Just for everyone's knowledge base, the GIS system has an incredible capability, which we aren't even scratching the surface on right now. Would that be a fair assessment? Like, there's other things that could be done. There's more capacity in that, but it's as we figure these things out and are able to tap the county and say, okay, we need to do this, this, and this. It's best practices. And the nice part is the rest of the county often will jump on board as well if they're not already doing it themselves. So go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you, I failed to ask, the culvert in Ivy Lee, I assume you're talking about the box culvert virtually at the far end of Ivy Lee, at the lowest point in the road that some of us will refer to as the Dawson Farm. Is that the culvert you're referring
It's
to?
Hayden Dawson's culvert, yeah.
Through your worship, that is correct. It is a culvert bridge, kind of a hybrid, an old bridge that a culvert was slip lined inside of and concreted around. That everything is starting to come apart. It is safe. I just want to qualify that, but the engineers have identified some concerns. We have some sinkholes down through the surface now that they said we need to address it sooner rather than later. So with the 25,000, doing the design that we're proposing for that, and then incorporating that as part of the operational assessment that we'll be undertaking with Ivy Lee as well.
So it's not happening it's happening in sync with what we had requested staff to do to bring back a fulsome plan for Ivy League going forward. So go ahead.
If I may, thank you, Your Worship, through you. This culvert will also be replaced before year end of this year?
No, through your worship. This one will be doing the design over the course of the winter and replacing this next year. It's going to take a little bit longer with this one because it does outlet directly into the river.
Right.
There are some additional approvals required that aren't as quick as some of the approvals that we can get.
Right. The only other thing I wanted to mention, and you're well aware of that, there's going to be a handful of residents that live just past that. They'll have to be notified more than once and reminded. It may not affect them for heating oil deliveries or propane and that type of thing, but they're going to need to prepare for the shutdown that's going to incur there.
That is correct. There will be plenty of notice. When we close a road off, there are certain things that we have to account for. Emergency services being one of them. We'll have to coordinate with fire and look at what our options are for being able to have access to those people, whether it's a shuttle service where we open up a section of it and allow them to pass through once per day, or if it's just pedestrian crossing and they're parking at our parking lot at 120 Ivy Lee. Those measures will be considered and put in place before we undertake this project.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? I will call the question. All those in favor? All those opposed, and it is carried. Next item is 13.8 RFT-OPS-2025-024 Ivy League parking lot. Moved by Councillor Kelman, seconded by Councillor Maybe, that council authorize staff to engage G. Tackberry and Sons Construction Company Limited for the tender RFT-OPS-2025-024 Ivy League parking lot in the amount of $245,091.81, inclusive of the net HST, and that staff work with G. Tackberry and Sons Construction Company Limited to identify cost-saving measures to decrease the overall cost of the project. I'm gonna pull rank at this point and I would like to think that we actually already do the second part of this every single project. I've seen it happen. So the way that this is written to me is a bit deceiving. Because I know that pretty much every project that we've done as of late has either, I don't want to say has come in under budget. I know there were some things with the last two projects that were unidentified that popped up, which put them over budget, but originally when tendered came in under, which actually gave us some of that flexibility. Would that be a fair assessment?
That is correct. Yes.
Okay. So, and also just to say that G. Tackberry and Sons has done a few projects for us this particular year, and have been excellent to work with.
Definitely. They're a great contractor to work with.
Okay. So I'll just go ahead. Go ahead, Deputy Mayor Fody, and then Councillor Maybe.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you, Director of Operations. When I was reading this, why couldn't we, being our staff, we have a rubber-tired excavator, we have the dump trucks. Why would they not be dealing with the cedar hedge and wooden fence? I think we could save ourselves nearly $40,000, but I see it's been pulled, so that's fine as far as the contractor goes. But is this not something that could be addressed before the contractor gets in there? A machine of that magnitude and power could make that hedge and fence disappear in 2 to 3 hours, my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, through your worship. So the cedar hedge removal from the contract is something, after speaking with the interim CAO or acting CAO and director of planning, that we feel is not required as part of this project. As it's commercial property to commercial property, it provides the buffer required. The wooden fence it's a bit of an art to build something to that effect. It's I think we're looking at 7 feet tall, 6x6s, and it's just a little more involved than what I think our staff would be able to complete at this time. The building demolition and removal has already been completed. It's something that we coordinated in-house already, so that one has been removed. And there are additional items that haven't been identified on this list that we feel that our staff can handle. There are trees to be removed. There's a few other things that we know we can do in-house, and we intend to work with the contractor to find further reductions beyond what was provided as an example in here.
So basically, they're already doing what you suggested to a point. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and through you. So my question to the Director of Operations is this new lot, will it have any sort of gate card access or control of people that are actually using it? And is there going to be conduit, or is there electricity to this site that needs to have conduit for future lighting?
Thank you, through your worship. The contract did contemplate electrical, and we are reviewing that. The costs in the contract were a little bit higher than what we had anticipated for running power to the site. Initially, the thought was to run conduit to put in a parking meter of something to that effect going forward. And we'll obviously have to update the bylaw for parking to be able to accommodate any sort of fees as a result of having a parking facility. But we're leaning more towards something that doesn't require upkeep and maintenance of infrastructure, and going something like the Honk app that they do in the city of Kingston, where we can monitor that and through our bylaw and see if they have parking passes in place without actually having to have hardware in place. So it can be done simply over your cell phone with an app and monitored quite effectively.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, I'll call a question. All those in favor? All those opposed? And it is carried. 13.9, pump repair sole source request, moved by Councillor Kelman, seconded by Councillor Maybe, that council approves staff recommendation to sole source the repair of pump 10 to ITW Inc. in the amount of $24,599.60 plus tax. Chief?
Thank you, and through your worship. Yeah, we've definitely had some issues this year with trucks. With pump 10, approximately 3 weeks ago, the captains came and said there was a lot of water leaking out of the pump. So we looked at it, had a couple people look at it, and we called in ITW, who come and do a lot of work on our trucks and our pumps and everything, and have spent a lot of time with us this year. They came and took a look, and the housing in the pump has a crack in it. So he came back, he had an adhesive that they use on a lot of industrial pumps to try to bind it just to buy us a bit of time. That unfortunately wasn't successful. And we were afraid to use that in case on a frontline call, we have firefighters in the building and the truck, the pump implodes. We didn't want to lose that water source. So we've been using it as basically a response vehicle to get equipment to the site. We've worked with I2W now for the last 2 or 3 years. They've been able to always, if there's an issue on the weekend, they'll come, they'll take care of us right away. I trust their work. This truck is a 2011, but $30,000 or $25,000 is far less than $1 million to replace it at this time. We do still have approximately 6 years of service left in that truck. So by the time we get the parts in, we'll be looking at about 3 weeks. to have that truck back in service. Otherwise, if we go out for 2 more quotes, I'm looking at another month before I even start to see anything happen again. So we requested to come to council to talk about a sole source for this.
Thank you for the rationale. Any further comments? Go ahead, Counselor Maybe.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you, is there any reasoning or idea what may have happened to the pump and for any future equipment, whether there's something to be done to help us out?
Yes, and through you, that's a great question. So that was my question to the mechanic as well. His comment to me was that it probably didn't have any anodes in it, so he likened it to your hot water heater. Any of the filings that end up or any of the hard water that ends up in the bottom, those trucks sit and the pumps sit full of water. So they just basically burn themselves from the inside out. So when we buy demo trucks, and this is one thing you learn as you go on, which I learned this as well, that the demo trucks don't traditionally come with anodes. So one of the things we're looking at for 2026 is to go around and see which trucks have anodes, which ones don't, and implement a plan to get that looked at and make sure we don't have that issue again.
Just as a follow-up, is there any cost related to the anode being added to a truck or estimated? And do you actually know what an anode actually does for the truck so that people understand that?
I'm not fully aware, but I know that it pulls all the metals towards the one spot so that it keeps everything from just hanging out in the bottom end of it. I don't have costing yet. That's to be determined once we get a look at what we do have.
And it's part of the 2026 budget
Yeah.
contemplation, or
That's-
will
yeah.
be.
That's what we're looking at.
Okay.
The other part that, oh, sorry, go ahead. It's
Okay,
gone.
Deputy Mayor, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship, through you to our fire chief. Is this a cast housing or aluminum?
I believe they're a cast housing. So the part of the plan for this, because we didn't have a catastrophic failure, he's saying that the pump shaft should still be in good shape. So we didn't include changing that, but we're including all the fins, all the rings that are inside there. We don't want to go and take old out and put it into a new casing. So that's why the cost is also a little bit higher.
Right. Okay. Thank you. I was just surprised that there was an application, if it was cast or even aluminum for that matter, that they could be repaired. Any pumps I've seen in my lifetime, regardless of the application, when they're done, they're done. My first thought was that you're one of the unique, along with our snowplow crews, that would take pumps out into minus 35 or worse temperatures in the wintertime. And it wouldn't take long for an idle truck to incur a hairline fracture of some sort, which is the freezing. But regardless, I'm glad that you have a game plan to get it fixed and back in service. Thank you.
Any further comments or questions? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? No opposed, so we're carried. 13.10 septic re-inspection, moved by Councillor Kelman, seconded by Deputy Mayor Fody, that staff bring forward a report to council to provide an overview of how other municipalities have implemented septic re-inspection programs and what resourcing and costs would be associated with reestablishing a program in the township. Motions on the floor? Yes, go ahead if you'd like to speak to it.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you, council will recall, I brought this notice of motion forward in the summer following conversation with members of the Charleston Lake Association. We have had a re-inspection program in the sort of distant past, in the early 2000s, that was only done for sort of targeted areas within the township. And there are a lot of concerns, particularly for our inland lakes, that there be some sort of program brought back. So that's why I've asked for staff to look into this and see if it's something that would be feasible for us to do or have a third party do.
Okay. Further comments or questions? Go ahead, Councillor Maybe.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and through you. I guess in this report, if we had what a cost of an inspection is, because I imagine there's a cost to each homeowner on that, and as well as if there's something found seriously wrong, that there's a notice put on, or the individual is notified of an issue and or potential ways of correcting it for them, so that they have an idea of what they might be looking at or how they're going to, pass an inspection in the future.
Thank you, through you. With respect to that, if there is a deficiency found as it relates to a septic system, that's enforceable under building code. So it would be the sole responsibility of the property owner with the system to repair that system. Depending on what the issues are, it depends how extensive it is. The costs obviously would range. But staff can certainly look at that. The costs will vary significantly depending on the nature of the system, the type of system, and what the issues may be, should there be issues. But we can look at bringing that forward in 2026.
Just as a follow-up, could there be an information sheet of potential even septic designers or companies in our locale that could be recommended to them if possible?
Through you, staff could provide. Staff do not recommend contractors, do not endorse any contractors, but we could provide a list of licensed contractors that is not subject to any endorsement or qualifications by the township.
Yeah, mainly just to make sure that we do get a competent company reinstalling, repairing the system, that which we know will pass in the next go around of inspections. Thank you.
Any further comments? Go ahead, Councillor Kelman.
Thank you, Worship, and for you. Just in response to Councillor Maybe, before I brought the notice of motion originally, I did a very cursory look at what some other municipalities in Eastern Ontario, and I think if we were to, I think that would all of that information would be included in any recommendations that staff would bring to us to sort of see what scope that if we wanted to go forward with a reinspection program, what scope and what would be included.
Go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Worship, through you. Before we get to an individual and what their problem may be, is the township allowed to provide a loans program per se to anyone at any capacity? Because some of these people could be staggered with the bill they are going to receive. What's required to fix it.
There is funding that's available through a county fund for an Ontario Renovates, I believe, that it's through the county, but it's through the province at the same time. There are ways to get financing, but to the point that you're asking, we are not allowed to become lenders of funds unless it's at a certain rate of return, which I can't imagine that we would be any better than, say, a bank or credit union. But to the point that I believe you're trying to make is that some folks won't have the means to qualify from them.
Right.
So should something happen, if we went forward with this plan, and that's why it's so important to have staff look into all the different ways that it's done in other municipalities, because while obviously we want to protect our inland lakes, rivers, what have you, even the St. Lawrence, but there's potentially unintended consequences which can happen. And just before I call the question on this septic reinspection program that existed was not run by the township. It was run by the health unit. And even then, my understanding is that they had chosen certain pockets of areas, like Councillor Kelman indicated, but that, I'm looking forward to seeing all the different ways that staff find other municipalities doing it, because I think it might be a bit of an eye opener for all of us, including the lake associations. And I know Charleston Lake in particular has worked very hard to work with their members to voluntarily have holding tanks and septic beds inspected on a regular basis, which isn't always easy if you're on an island property, but also to let the public know that when folks come in for building permits, septics are included in consideration for that. So depending on whether you're expanding or adding a shower or bathroom or what have you, they're making sure that septics are sized appropriately. All that being said is that, you know, a working septic is one thing, a non-functioning septic is another, and having a correctly sized septic is a whole other matter as well. So there's lots going into this. And since the township has taken over this very important piece of the puzzle when you're building, it's a significant amount of work for our building department, I would say at this point. So go ahead.
If I may, thank you, Your Worship, on a follow-up. Just a couple of comments. I fully support this, by the way, and we have as much water at risk, whether it be lake streams, what have you, as anybody, I would suspect. And therefore, this should happen. But as I indicated earlier, I'd like to get out front on this, on the financial answer, before we get the questions. There was a comment made nowhere near this jurisdiction of ours, and it became a subject of a joke to the person hosting the event this past summer, that their $73,000 septic. I hope you appreciate the green grass that we put on top of our new septic system. They were on a lake. And the shock factor there was they didn't know they didn't have a septic. They bought the property, nobody knew where it was, and it was assumed that because that green grass in the flat spot, that's where the weeping bed was. They brought a contractor in to do diligence, is what it was, only to find out it went out through the wall, as seen from the basement, into a stone trap. And that was the septic. Fast forward to $73,000, they have a lovely septic system now. And there's all kinds of new ways of doing septics with the ecosystems, and there's others that are more advanced, but none of them are cheap. And I want to see this follow through and carry forward, but I think we need to prepare the residents for what could happen to some of them. And I saw it firsthand. I worked for a contractor decades ago, and we did a lot of septics on riverfront and lake properties and islands, and that surprise factor did rear its head once in a while.
Certainly not an insignificant cost, that's for sure. Go ahead, Councillor Kelman.
Thank you, Your Worship. One more thing. I just wanted to note for anyone listening and for council, as the acting CAO pointed out to me before I attended Charleston Lake Association meeting this summer, and I passed it along to them. Our building department can respond to issues. So if a property owner is concerned about an existing septic or lack of existing septic system, they can certainly submit their concern to the planning department, and they can inspect that now. It's just done on a case-by-case basis. So concerns can be addressed now. This would just be looking at this is just a preliminary look at perhaps doing something more fulsome.
If I
Give
may,
you the last time.
this will be the last on this subject. I asked our department here just this past summer, you can do remedial work on a septic bed up to, I believe the quote was 15% of what you deem to be 15% of the weeping bed. You can dig that up without a permit and address if you think there's a problem there. And but once it goes beyond that, you stop. You get a proper permit and then proceed accordingly. So there are going to be some situations where remedial work can be done without so much as a permit, providing it doesn't exceed, and don't quote me on the 15%.
And the last comment I will make is that septics are supposed to be maintained, which means they're supposed to be pumped on a somewhat religious schedule. Every few years, every couple to 3 years. And if that's not done, it potentially could decrease the life of it. So there's all of these things that come into the factoring of maintaining these systems. But just want to say thank you to those who work in our building department who are dealing with case-by-case basis. So it is complaint driven. So not that we're looking to open up complaints, but if you have a concern where septics are not working and flowing into any rivers, lakes, streams, or even in your backyard, your neighbors, any complaint received through the website in the report it function is confidential. But we are obligated as a municipality to investigate through bylaw and building. Okay, so I'm going to call the question on the motion. All those in favor? All those opposed? Carried. Okay, next item is also moved by Councillor Kelman, seconded by Councillor Maybe, that staff bring back the Indigenous Peoples Relations Consultation and Communication Policy to Council for consideration. Councillor Kelman?
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you. So just a reminder, if council will recall, when this policy came to us before, we elected to split the land acknowledgement from the policy, and we accepted the land acknowledgement, which we're now using. And there was some concern, I think, primarily about the wording and what sort of, how it did seem different from a lot of our other policies in terms of wording and tone. At the time, we asked that perhaps the consultants that that consulted on the policy could come as a delegation and speak to it. But I just think given that AMO has now drafted their action plan regarding Indigenous peoples and right relations, I think that this is something that we shouldn't leave just hanging and we should revisit.
Okay, go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you. I remember this proposal as it was back then. I voted against it, and I wasn't alone, because the core reason being any reference to financing in there was vague at best, very vague. And it left the township, in my eyes, liable for who knows how much money. And until that's clarified, well, but we'll see. I mean, you said that AMO has brought forward, they've tightened this up to some degree?
Yes, it was actually that was the action plan that was in our last package for the committee of the whole meeting last week.
Right.
So it's not the same, and it's not directing municipalities, but I think when you read the action plan, you sort of, it has a similar tone and wording to it, and it sort of gives credence to why municipalities should perhaps be considering having something along the same lines. And that's why I think if we could perhaps get the consultants to come and speak to council's concerns that were in our policy, whether it means adjusting the policy or to address those concerns, or perhaps then with some explanation, then council members would be more comfortable with the policy, or maybe they won't. But we sort of just left it hanging without any timeline of when it would come back. And there was a really strong focus on right relations at AMO throughout the entire 3-day conference. And the action plan, I think, is excellent. And again, it's broader than what we're looking at and what our policy was oriented towards. But I think that it might help address some of our concerns if we look at it again.
I'm going to recognize the clerk and then Councillor Antoine Hartley.
Through you, Your Worship, thank you. I just did want to clarify that we haven't asked the consultants to come speak to it. That would be outside of the scope of what the RFP was for. So if council did want that to happen, we would have to add that and then look at some
There would be
budget
a
funds
cost.
to probably get them back here. I did just recently reread the policy. There's nothing that specifically says there are financial obligations for the township. Obviously, we do have to do certain things like archaeological assessments and stuff like that. The director of operations and the planning staff are already doing most of those things anyway. So the policy doesn't make those greater than what the township is already doing. I mean, we're mostly already doing what's within the policy.
But nonetheless, if it comes back to the table at the very least, if there's need for further clarification, then a motion can be put on the floor at that time to request the consultant to come up to a cost of whatever X dollars. So at least it'll get it on the floor in order for us to have further discussion about it. And I know I'm going to have to read it again to remember, because there's a few packages I've read between, then and now. Just to make sure that I have full comprehension of it. before we start debating it around the horseshoe. So this is just to bring back the Indigenous Peoples Relation Consultation and Communication Policy for consideration. So Councillor Antoine Hartley.
Through you, Chair, I would support bringing this back because as I think I've stated before, it's been 10 years since the Truth and Reconciliation report was released and call to action. So I really think if nothing else to give our staff more specific guidance in moving forward. And we know that we're doing projects all the time that might be involved with that, needing to have that in place. So I fully support this going forward.
Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Worship. Through you, if I may make a suggestion, if we're going to do a presentation to council, can we do the presentation in the package at the committee of the whole, but expect the conversation to happen at council? If it's anything like the last piece I read, you need to have 2 or 3 coffees to go through it. I just don't want to see a vague presentation flippantly
So
dealt with.
You would prefer to have it a committee of the whole for further discussion. I think that's wise as well because
Okay.
it also allows the public to weigh in should they wish, which I think is an important part of that whole purpose.
Right.
for
And
considering.
I agree with my colleagues. The Truth and Reconciliation, as you say, Councillor Antoine Hartley, is 10 years old, and I don't doubt that it is, but there was a lot of that was vague. I have a real issue of sticking our financial obligations in a small township out to a vague presentation financially, no matter what the outcome. Thank you.
So hopefully with that reconsideration, then we can provide some additional clarity if there is any financial obligations in the future. So I'm going to call a question. All those in favor? All those opposed? And it is carried. 13.12, moved by Deputy Mayor Fody, seconded by Councillor Kelman, that staff bring back a report regarding unresolved motions made by council over this term of council and the one immediately previous to this. So that to clarify, that's for the council term of 2018 to 2022 and this term. So this was actually, it's moved by Deputy Mayor Fody, but it was originally instigated by Councillor Lackey, who was unable to attend tonight. So for anybody listening, it's in regards to keeping an ongoing list, that there are things that have been requested by council over time that either fall off the radar, whether it's change in staff, whether it's change in council, and so one of the things that we're finding, and I say we as a municipality, but mostly staff, there's lots of things that we found out, right, Director Holiday? Like when you find resolutions from council that have to put up parking signs from 2011. So these are the things that are surfacing and we're still finding. So I think that it's a reasonable request, although the clerk may not find it as reasonable. The clerk's fine. Okay. It's going to be some work going back looking for it, but I think it's a good exercise to do because it could also uncover other things that we've actually accomplished and moved on from or no longer necessary because we've managed to complete them just the same. Okay, so that motion is on the floor to bring back a report regarding unresolved motions made by council over this term of council and the one immediately previous to this in 2018 to 2022. All those in favor? All those opposed? And it is carried. And we're on to staff reports. So staff reports for information. These are for information purposes only, which means there's no motions associated with them. So you have the fire service third quarter report, recreation working group update, and an operating and capital status as at September 30th, 2025. So I'll take any questions in regards to any of those reports. Go ahead, Deputy Mayor Fody, and then Councillor maybe.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you. It was a good report. It was thorough. It covered
Which-
base. Oh, sorry.
The
That should be identified.
Operation and capital.
The recreation. Thank
Okay.
you. I apologize. It's a very good report. It's very thorough. For those who are working on this, did a great job in identifying everything. The only thing that jumped off the page at me, and one example, and there might be two or three. The one example is the group playing baseball over here, softball, I guess it is, and it's identified here that they've gone from a membership in 2023 to where they are now of having 2 teams, 4 teams, and now, if I remember right, they're up to 10. But to follow through to help them out with some of the requests to fix the diamond is a 5 to 10 year fix. Some of those folks won't be able to play ball in 10 years, if I want to be sarcastic. Some of those, if we have some groups in recreation, and we'll just call it recreation at large, doesn't have to be a specific sport. I think we need to tighten the timelines there. And I know there's going to be some financial constraints, but I think we need to try and tighten the timelines to satisfy the groups that are growing rather than sour them and watch them go the other way again. Just my thoughts.
Councillor Maybe, and then Councillor Antoine Hartley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and through you. With the recreation one, I found is a very long list of items that are being considered. One of the ones that I was interested in is the ball diamond again, and that some of the fences have been and gates may be removed so it doesn't become a dog park. And to that point, is there a dog park in the township? One of my first questions. But some of the things on the recreation, one of the ones is the Bateau Channel location, which is a very small area. So I was wondering, in some of the detailed timeframes that you have, whether some of those timeframes could be changed to accommodate some of the stuff like at Kendrick's Beach, because that is one area that I know in the past I used many, many times. And it's the population base that go out there is probably tenfold to almost anywhere else in my mind that I've seen over the years. So I could see us trying to maybe coordinate our efforts to try to emphasize and make a couple of them a little larger, a little more user-friendly, and consider some of the improvements there to help us out with the population as they come back and use the location. On the other one on the fire services, if I could just jump to it, very, very remarkable numbers are happening this year once again. And if this continues every year, I don't know where we're going to be with having to have full-time firefighters. That's what I almost see if we keep going at the rate we're going. But good work. Certainly the new fireboat is getting a lot of use and has become a very vital tool to the west side of the St. Lawrence, where it is stationed. So, and also the training. The training numbers are just astronomical. And yes, it's mandatory, but it's great to see that it's actually getting there, and that the recruitment and the officers, as much as in any organization, there's some who are always there and some who aren't always there. And you wish to try to balance that out a bit more. So kudos to the fire chief and the fire department for all the great work that they do, not only on, the training and the numbers, but the recall to the situations that happen, not only at homes, but on the highway. And it's a lot of work, and hats off to you all.
Councillor Antoine Hartley.
So first of all, thank you for that report. It was well written, and I really was pleased to see that you're looking at succession planning as well, and is being addressed, because I think that's really important in any organization. A question about vehicle repairs. Were any of those under warranty? Any of them? No?
Through your worship, no, the tankers that were repaired are 2007.
Okay.
And the one pump would be a 2018.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
And the Recreation Working Group report was extensive and wonderfully organized. I I was very happy to see things included, like the replacement of the teepee in Sealy's Bay. I know it's getting a little old for me right now, but I was very happy to see that that's being looked at again. I did notice, though, it said that choose a design style that applies to all future structures. And I would say that I have said on many occasions that our villages are very, very different in many ways. And instead of making everything equal, maybe look at what the needs are. That's all I'll say on that. I was happy to see swim lessons being reconsidered, especially this year. I don't know whether anybody else noticed how many drowning deaths occurred in Eastern Ontario and Central Ontario this year. There were so many children that lost their lives this year. So our swim programs are essential, I think. I would also like to ask a question. It says that putting a canteen in Lansdowne. I question that only on the grounds of what would be the purpose. Because as many are aware now, the Sealy's Bay Canada Day, people are not allowed to use the canteen in Sealy's Bay for next year. Just wondering what the purpose would be of putting one in Lansdowne if it's not going to be open for public use. And my last thing, promise, is I know that the Lyndhurst Community Organization has been asking for pickleball lines and did not see those included in the report. I saw lines for every other place but there. Just wondering if that's going to be a possibility and was just missed. Thanks.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you.
No, I
Oh,
was
sorry.
recognizing the director that those
Oh.
questions were directed at.
Thank you, Your Worship.
You're welcome.
So the canteen in Lansdowne would be similar to how we operate the canteen in Sealy's Bay and the canteen at Kendricks, where we would have staff on site during the peak hours to provide a service for the similar to our other big parks. When we have people out using the splash pad, and we have people using the multi-use court, the ball diamonds, those types of things that we have that opportunity for them to provide, or for us to provide a service for them, same as we do with the other parks. Pickleball lines, one's a mixed bag of review. So we do have a couple of submissions that were looking for pickleball lines. We received as much opposition for the pickleball lines as we did for them to be installed. People that don't want to hear the noise from pickleball seem to be a big one with people local to the court. So yeah, that one is still a topic of discussion during the recreation working group at this time.
Thank you. Sorry, Deputy Mayor Fode, you had something to add?
Thank you, Your Worship. And through you, I'll direct this to the Director of Operations to follow through on the last couple of comments. I would like to find another avenue if we're going to put a canteen in Lansdowne. There's portable canteens that might entertain showing up. Lansdowne Fair Board has one that's not all that far away. Maybe the Junior Fair Board or the Fair Board at large would entertain opening up theirs. Because to build a canteen for a sometime used event, regardless of the sport or the event, could end up being pretty costly. My initial comments were going to be directed to the fire department. There's been pretty staggering numbers and increases that you've incurred this year, and as you've had incurred in the last few years. Some of this falls directly on the blame of the provincial government for shedding their responsibilities for looking after health at large. They're quite comfortable just walking away, leaving us with the guilt factor. And I'll come at that another day if we need to. But as for the fire department, my hair stood on end when Councillor Maybe mentioned the possibility of full-time firefighters. This township would be in for a financial shock if we had to support full-time firefighters. Plain and simple. And we wouldn't be alone. And furthermore, could we sustain 4 fire stations if we're going to have full-time firefighters? We might be making an option to say we'll support 2 of them. It's a long, slippery slope that I hope we don't have to deal with. We have good volunteers now under great leadership. I don't like some of the snippets I see on social media. If that's the best you can make for comments, I suggest you stay off the keyboard. That's just my thoughts on that. We have a great volunteer fire department. And as I said, the leadership is second to none. And we know from sitting here, I could jokingly say our financial commitment to the fire department is steep, but it needs to be. This is a protection service we provide. And likewise, the fire department is providing a protection service. And through that health avenue, again, there was an interruption at home on Sunday Thanksgiving dinner where a family member got called out to a pretty precarious situation. I won't touch the subject matter, health related. So hats off to our firefighters. Some of the risks they take with some of what they're dealing with regards to needles and drugs, and it goes on and on and on. But I think there needs to be some pressure coming up in whenever the next provincial election is going to be, which apparently is about 3.5 years away now. But no, I'll just compliment you. And I'm not saying that Councillor maybe isn't complimenting the fire department. I know he didn't mean it that way at all. But I would be adamantly, severely opposed to ever entertaining the idea of a full-time fire department. Thank you.
Councillor Kalman.
Thank you, Worship, and through you. I share my fellow councillors' commendation for the fire services report. I think it speaks to, in the earlier report regarding the pumper, it's mentioned that, you know, they're hitting their costing for the year because of repairs, but this is an extraordinary year. It could continue to be an extraordinary time for firefighting. So I think they are doing a wonderful job, as evidenced by what they're dealing with in this report. I would also like to add that the operating and capital status report was an excellent report and a very interesting read. Thank you. And I would also like to add.
Were you afraid that the treasurer's feelings were hurt because nobody had said anything?
And regarding the Recreation Working Group report, I would really, in this venue, like to give huge kudos to staff that have worked very hard as part of this working group, particularly our recreation coordinator, Alex Johnston, and our facilities manager, Jonathan Cross. They have brought so much to the table. There is a ton of information, but I can say that when I initially pushed to have a recreation working group, and I think I can speak for Councillor Lackey as well, what I wanted to see was something that was looking at recreation in the township as a whole in terms of long-term planning. And so, but also done in-house, because as we all know, there have been lots of recreation plans done over the last decade or so, some for specific communities, some for the entire township, but they were done out of house, they were expensive, and they're not always realistic, because as we all know, costing has really changed. So these recommendations are certainly flexible. The timelines are flexible. I think it's Alex that's put together this report. She's done a wonderful job, given how our conversations go at these meetings. She's done a wonderful job to pin it down. But I think it's really key to note that it is flexible. We have tried to identify, for example, the ball diamonds. We want to make them much more usable and safe now, but keeping in mind that we will only have so many recreation dollars to spend every year. And it's not the only thing we need to spend recreation dollars on. That's why we have different timeline projections for different parts of one facility. And swim lessons, I agree, that was a really good, programming thing to focus on for next year. I believe at all 3 of the town halls we hosted, swim lessons, it was one of the only things that was mentioned at all 3 town halls that residents really wanted to see back in place. And in terms of the design of a shade structure in Centennial Park in Sealy's Bay, what we mean by carrying that design through, it's not necessarily the same exact size or design. We just want to see our township parks identified as being that. So it might be something as simple as they all have the same roof, the same color and the same material, so that when you see that structure, you think, oh, that is a township park. And that's what we were thinking that way. And in terms of Bateau Channel, we were very interested in developing more there, partly because it is access to the St. Lawrence River for our residents. So again, it's a big project because there's not a lot there right now, but there is a lot of potential, also given its proximity to Kingston and users coming out from that way. So there's a lot of potential there for all of our residents to enjoy that facility on the St. Lawrence River. So that's why you see a lot there that maybe some people might wonder where Bateau Channel is. But anyway, that's why. So I thought our meetings, there was really a comprehensive discussion. We had great input from the library staff that attend the meetings. And I think the staff have just been really spectacular at lending their expertise, which is what we needed them for, and bringing it all into this report. So I'm, as you can tell, really excited to have this and have some things going into the budget for next year. Thank you.
Counselor Maybe.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. There's a couple more things I didn't see in my notes as I was kind of glancing down them before. And pertaining to swimming lessons, second location could be Joel Stone Park. I know that it's in Gananoque and they don't have one happening, but as an option, it's in the south part of the township. Just throw it out there. The other one was the Jesse Street. Back in our previous to this group sitting, there was a recommendation and a design made by Schultz and Zabak about the redesign of all of Jesse Street. Now, it was expensive and it's probably doubled in cost by now, even to have that done. But it could be something that's looked at to see if any of the improvements you want to make to the current facility can be translated through that possible plan a little bit, just as another. And then on the last one, the 14.3, the operations, water storage and the grant money that we received and where that stands with moving forward with the water storage through the operations director, if there's anything.
Go ahead.
Okay, I'll try to work my way through that. Swimming lessons. So following our meeting with the recreation working group, I did have a meeting with the manager of recreation with the town of Gananoque. We were talking about the annual update on the arena, as well as providing the minutes from our previous meeting and the discussion around swimming lessons. So they're taking it back to their group for consideration of having swimming lessons, because that was one of the topics that we talked about, was working with Gananoque going forward at Joel Stone Park. So that is being considered at Gananoque as sort of a cost sharing measure that we could work on together, because, you know, Councillor Lackey says it best, we have them surrounded. In addition to that, looking long-term, it was identified in the recreation working group that One Jesse Street is coming towards the end of its useful life. There's no question about that. And that the need for starting the process to look at what the needs are for the replacement of that facility, it's going to take some time. We know that like financially, we're going to need some support. And typically, in order to receive grants and those types of things, you have to be shovel ready. So there's some work that's going to need to be done to prepare for the longer term planning. And, you know, if swimming lessons are something that we need to look at in summertime only, not an indoor facility, I'm told, but it's something that will obviously be considered as we move forward with that process, if that is the direction that we're going in. And then in terms of the water, we did have to provide some information back to HUSIF, and they were going to get back to us, and that's what we know right now. We have not received a response back, so we'll be following up with them to see what the next steps are, timelines, etc. But the hope is to have the tender ready by the end of the year and be hitting the ground in the spring of 2026 with the project completed in 2027.
Okay. Go ahead.
Through your chair, just wondering when we'll be seeing a report from the peer working group. I know that they had a meeting in September And we learned last June, when Mr. Hand brought a delegation, that there were a number of items that council was unaware of. That was part of the concerns in those certain communities. So through peer, we would be finding that stuff out. So if, can we expect to have a report in November?
Through you, Mayor. Yes, the minutes just hadn't been approved yet from that meeting in September in time to get on the October
So we'll see
council.
the September minutes in November.
That's the expectation, yes. Now, any previous reports are available on the website from previous minutes and the agendas if anyone is looking for them. But
Thank you.
Because the working group is not an official committee of council. It's not clerked. There's not official minutes, but yet, so because of the request, we have to put something organized in order to come forward to council.
yes, exactly. So through you, Mayor, since there's not an official minute taker, we do charge the community engagement coordinator, keeps
Thank you.
minutes and makes notes of that to have a better record of that can be presentable to council. But
Okay. Thank you. Last word, and then we're going to move on, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship, through you. I travel through a portion of Lanark County often, and hats off to where the kudos are deserved. I believe, and I don't know, but it's obvious that Lanark County has a crew, but it could be their own work crew, that goes out and puts a very similar package together at all signs coming into villages, towns. I guess there wouldn't be too many towns, but coming into their villages or even into their jurisdictions. A very picturesque looking fall presentation involving flowers and pumpkins and what have you. If you haven't seen it, you're best to go look at it rather than take my description, which is much less complimentary than reality. To Councillor Maybe's comments about a dog park, south of Perth, I don't know whether it's in the Perth town limits. I suspect it is. They are just completing a new dog park out there. And maybe that, you know, if you really want to know what it costs to open a dog park, they likely have some pretty fresh numbers for us. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm gonna just say one last thing. Councillor Kelman stole my thunder. The operating capital report was amazing. Because it is great to see that we're well within budget and we're on track based on what was presented to us 8 months ago. Looking forward to heading into budget to see what's on deck for next year. But things are moving ahead in our projects despite challenges that we've needed to overcome with certain projects, and we're still in good shape. So I appreciate the work on all levels of staff who keep us in line in that regards. So any other questions on those information reports? Seeing none, there's no other information items and announcements or statements from councillors. Go ahead, Councillor Kelman, and then Councillor Maybe, then Councillor Fody.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you. I would just like to draw everyone's attention to at our committee of the whole meeting last week, our library CEO brought some lovely little treat baskets for us that had a QR code attached to them. That QR code is also on their Facebook page. I've shared it, and the township Facebook page is going to share it as well and put it on our website. It is to give your feedback regarding their app or your support to their application for a Create and Connect Makerspace grant. For everyone that doesn't know what Create and Connect, a Makerspace is, it's basically to provide a lot of materials, like a Cricut is a really good example, which is an expensive piece of equipment that would be available in the library, and you could come in and use it, and there would be other supplies and pieces of machinery, perhaps like a 3D printer available as well. Very, very popular in libraries and community hubs. So this grant is specifically for that, and the community can lend their support to the grant application by using that QR code. And there's also just a link for the website if you don't know how to use a QR code. So everyone, if they could do so by November 14th and add their support, that would be very much appreciated.
Thank you. Councillor Maybe, and then Deputy Mayor Fody.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Keeping on the library theme, October 25th is Library Week, which the town crier will be present to do something for them to liven up the day, I'm sure. And in the Santa line, the Lyndhurst Parade is November 15th, Lansdowne November 16th, and Gananoque November 29th. And I do have the honor of welcoming Santa and Mrs. Claus to Gananoque by boat this year in November. So that'll be kind of fun, something a little different. And then November 25th to December 10th is Interval House recognition, and I will be there for a flag raising ceremony at the town of Gananoque for Interval House. And that's it for me. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you, just a couple of things. I think our township should send a letter to Via Rail, as are a lot of our neighboring communities are doing. We do have a train station in our township here at Gananoque. If we don't support it, nobody else will. I think what I've seen from the city of Kingston, the city of Brockville, and other jurisdictions, we need to jump on board and make our 2 cents known to Via Rail. Their wisdom of cutting stops, if it's to save money, I don't know where they're coming from, because they're a ridership service. It's like asking planes to cut back on the number of people on board the plane to save money. It's ludicrous. But I would like to see our township send a letter. I don't care who writes it up, but I think we should support ourselves, if nobody else, but also our fellow neighbors on either side of us to Via Rail, to let them know that if they're going to do things like these, they need to consult the people they actually work for.
So can you bring that forward in a notice of motion
Sure.
at the next meeting? Thank you.
Right. Secondly, I've heard some compliments just this past week. So on my way home from work today, I took the opportunity to swing out to the Lansdowne Waste Site. And it's impressive, the total change out there, the new laws that are required eventually here for handling waste. It's nice to know that our waste site attendants are as knowledgeable and up to speed as they were, and cordial. And while I was there was 2 individuals that I know, but not well. They both mentioned in having a short chat with me how cordial and helpful the staff were at the waste site. So kudos to our waste sites. If you haven't seen our waste site employees, I should say, if you haven't seen the new configurations, and I should ask the Director of Operations, are all 3 sites now at this level of operation?
That is correct. We have fully transitioned at all 3 sites.
Nice. Okay, well, I'll leave it at that. And if you want to find the details, you're going to have to go and see them. Secondly, this coming Thursday, which is only 2 days from now, is the results of the Sealy's Bay survey being opened in Sealy's Bay, right? From 6 till 8? Right. So I think that needs to be hammered out a little bit so people don't overlook it. And I wish they'd attended. I'm looking forward to that myself. It's from 6 to 8 o'clock at the Sealy's Bay Hall. Thank you.
Go ahead, Councillor Antoine Hartley.
So this week, as a result of receiving a few phone calls, I know Councillor Kelman and I received a few dump phone calls. I loaded up the truck and went to the dump. And while I was there, I had a concern about how accessible it was to people, because even my own husband didn't like the white wall at the Briar Hill dump. But when I went, I found it very usable. I'm 5'4", so average height, old, but can still move around. And I had no problem with delivering my garbage over the white wall. Now, there wasn't a big hill there of garbage to get it over, but I did a good job. Anyways, and the Emterra bins were, to my chest, basically. And I could easily put my stuff in. I had no issues whatsoever. I didn't have a problem. I actually kind of like being able to keep my cardboard and my paper together. I like that. No, I think it's a wonderful setup now, and I commend the people who are responsible for that because it's good. And accessibility, when I asked the gentleman at the dump, I said, so somebody comes in and says, I have some mobility issues or whatever. He says, oh, that's no problem. We just take it for them. So accessibility, not an issue.
Thank you. Okay, so everybody's had a chance. And as far as my mayor's update, just wanted to put a shout out to Dr. Erb. He retired. There was a retirement gathering for him at the St. Lawrence District Medical Center, and it was well attended. We're very grateful that Dr. Erb has stayed around as long as he has. He's, I won't say how old he is, but he's past retirement age and has kept going because we needed him. And for that, we're immensely grateful. Very grateful to the new doctor who also has joined the practice. If you haven't seen already, they are adding folks to the wait list at St. Lawrence District Medical Center. So if you are without a doctor, please add your name to that list. That particular medical practice is also entertaining finding an additional doctor for the practice. So if you aren't on the waiting list, please add yourself. And they are also the benefit of your tax dollars at work. Part of the reason that we were able to get a new doctor at the St. Lawrence District Medical Center is the support that we gave to help recruit that individual here and to keep them here. So that's over a 5-year expectation. Pardon? Residents are given preferential treatment, but no, it's not just for residents only. So, and I know that Sealy's Bay Medical Center is in a recruiting phase as well. They have worked with a recruiter specifically. So our hope is that Dr. Briggs can also enjoy retirement, as I believe that she would like to do. But we're grateful that she continues to show up every day for the residents. Some other things that I would like to underscore: there was a brand new childcare facility in Gananoque that was opened by the in partnership with the United Counties and the YMCA. This is $10 a day daycare, all spaces. Half of the daycare has been renovated, so it's toddlers and infants, I believe. Forget how many spaces, 39. And then there's the other half of the space that's also being renovated, which will be another 40 some spaces. So they were able to open the ones immediately. It's a beautiful space. What's even more beautiful is the outdoor space that the kids can run around in. And it's all fenced in, it's safe, but they've even got a little toboggan hill, and it's overlooking the Gananoque River. So it's quite gorgeous, and kudos to the town of Gananoque reusing a building that has been somewhat controversial. But at the end of the day, it's going to very much serve their community and ours, because there's lots of folks from TLTI who have their kids in daycare in Gananoque. The Heart Hub funding has been announced. So for those who have been struggling with mental health and addictions, the Leeds Grenville Lanark Mental Health and Addictions will be running the Heart Hub in conjunction with the province. This will include detox beds. This will include mental health supports, where the old Fulford Academy is located in Brockville, which is down the road from the cabins, which is also, there's another announcement coming in regards to more beds being added for supportive housing. So to the point of supporting those who are struggling with housing, things are starting to finally come together. It's taken time, but I'm grateful that we've got to this point. And Roma delegations, if there are any members of council who want to ensure that anything goes before a minister while we're there, please make sure that you speak to staff and bring it forward at the next council meeting so that we can meet the deadlines. Madam Clerk, good with that? Okay. And lastly, I will be heading through the Eastern Ontario Wardens Caucus. I'm heading to Ottawa next Monday afternoon and Tuesday to do Parliament Hill Day. So we will be meeting with MPs from across Canada and specifically Eastern Ontario and Ontario to gain support for the initiatives that Eastern Ontario Warden's Caucus has chosen to champion, things like housing, things like electricity, connectivity, other things that we feel that 103 municipalities need a larger share of. That's all I have to say about that. And there's no closed session. And so, Deputy Mayor.
Sorry, thank you, Your Worship, and through you. This township donated money to Sherwood Park Manor and George Tackerberry Home. Is there any timelines as to when those two will be cutting a ribbon, so to speak?
So the cutting of the ribbon was originally scheduled for G Tackberry last week, but there was an issue that prevented it. We should be announcing the ribbon cutting here shortly, and the municipality will get notified of when that will be. Sherwood Park, I can't speak to. I'm not sure where they are, but I can find out. So we can send an email to the folks, the parties that are. Did we give money to Sherwood Park Manor? We did? Can't remember. I remember the G Tackberry, but I don't remember the. Well, either way, it's supporting desperately needed beds for long-term care, and the folks that are languishing in hospital can have a place to go that is actually home. Okay, so bylaws. Moved by Councillor Antoine Hartley, seconded by Councillor Kelman, that third reading and final passage be granted to bylaws 2025-051, 2025-052. Discussion? All in favor? And no opposed, and it's carried. Next item is confirmatory bylaw, moved by Councillor Kelman, seconded by Councillor Antoine Hartley, that three readings and final passage be granted to bylaw 2025-053, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the corporation of the Township of Leeds in the Thousand Islands at its October 14th, 2025 council meeting. All those in favor? All those opposed? And it is carried. Motion for adjournment, Councillor Kelman is moving, seconded by Councillor Antoine Hartley, that council adjourn at 8:01 p.m. Sorry I kept you late, folks. All those in favor? All those opposed? And it's carried. And we are adjourned. Thank you.